Can you tell us about the roof sealant and how often it should be maintained?
Yeah, so the roof sealant, obviously important on any kind of motorhome, camper, car, anything like that. I mean, just basic maintenance really. You want to be checking that. We do have it listed in our manuals that it needs to be every 6 to 12 months. We prefer closer to 6 months. And again, it depends on your conditions. You get out into the western atmosphere of our country and you're, say you're parked in Arizona and out in the sun all the time, obviously that's going to dry that out a little bit quicker than what it would here in the Midwest when we kind of have fluctuating temperatures. The sun's not quite as bright. We don't have nearly as much heat here. So those kind of things are what we're looking for and maintaining. So every 6 months, get somebody up on the roof. If you don't want to get up there yourself, you get someone up there to do the inspection, take it to a dealer, have a service guy, somebody take a look at it. And what they're going to be looking for is any kind of crack or void, anything that signifies that there's something missing there. Obviously, we know it's going to get a little bit of dirt and dust on it. That can easily be wiped off. But what we want to look for is anytime there's a crack in that sealant, we need to make sure that we're sealing that back up. And really simple, we've been using the same silicone on the roof since 2016. So if your coach is a 2016 or newer, you're going to be using New Flex 311, which is a seam sealant on the roof. If you have a 2015 or older, you're actually going to be using the Alpha Self-Level Seam Sealant. Both are available in standard silicone tubes. You can usually pick those up on Amazon, anywhere online. I think Home Depot may carry that as well. So those are things you're looking for, and those, make sure you use the same sealant that's on your coach. That's important. The two kind of really don't play good together. So make sure you use that same sealant, and also just get it real clean, and then you can seal right over the top of it. It is seam sealant, self-leveling. So anytime we apply it right over it, it'll seek its own level and just seal up that crack or void that we have on the roof.
Absolutely. Slide outs are also a major component as well with the sealant. What maintenance is involved with them?
So slide outs are a little bit different. We do have our own slide out system here that we've created many years ago. We've had it for a long time now. So the thing that we look to most is the sealant around, or the seals. We call them the wipe seals. Just that opening around the slide out itself. You've got the slide out box that goes into the sidewall, and there's seal all the way around it. Those need to be protected, and we're looking for something to keep those lubricated and also to create a UV protectant. So the best thing you can do for those is Aerospace 303. They make a protectant. You can use it on multiple things in your coach, but that is probably the best thing you're going to do for those sealants. The other thing we ask customers to do is look at their motors. That motor's, it's got a lot of torque on it. It's obviously running in and out all the time, every time you move that coach and move those slide outs. So we do ask that they check that torque. I guess I can't really say torque, just the tightness of the bolts that hold that motor in. We can't really torque it per se. There's not a torque spec to it. The housing of that motor is pot aluminum. So you really just want to make it hand tight, which is one of the reasons that they loosen up over time. Especially that super slide out. We really want to do this about every 3 months, checking those motors. And that wipe seal for the slide out seal around it, that again, all depends on where you're at and that environment you're going to be in. Obviously, the hotter it is, the more sun you have, that's going to be more frequent. You get somewhere where you're going to have it in storage a while, not necessarily a big deal. But when it's out in the sun like that, the sun does bake that and dry it out a little bit. So we want to make sure we keep that protected.
So in our power management segment, we talked about batteries and battery maintenance. But since we're talking about important maintenance items, what do customers need to maintain on their batteries?
So really the thing is cleanliness. The number one issue with batteries is that they get corroded. And most of that caused by dirt, debris, dust, any kind of chemicals or anything, it's going to get wet. And anytime we have that, it starts building corrosion on it. So that mixture of that dust, dirt, and debris, maybe from the road, and a little bit of moisture on there, it rains and gets a little water up there. That's more so in our older units when we look at 2016 and previous. The 2017s and newer, we really don't have that issue as much. But battery maintenance is key, especially for those older units. You want to make sure that those batteries stay cleaned off all the time. That's the most important thing we can do to those batteries.
Now for the exterior, that awesome paint job that we all have on our Entegras, what is the best way to keep those coaches clean? Are there products that you recommend for the paint?
Well, keeping the paint clean and shiny, obviously there's certain steps that we can take for it. One thing we recommend is that you wash it. You're going to apply some wax to it. The issue that we've ran into, and this is, a lot of customers look at it and go, it's a huge investment. We want to keep that thing shined up, so they can over wax or over polish. We do have customers that have used the wash and wax combination. while you can use that wash and wax combination, it's not the best thing to use continual basis. It does build up wax on the coach, and then you'll eventually get a dull spot on it. So what we recommend is, they need to be doing this kind of on a regular basis. We'll say monthly, every other month. It needs to have a good wash job. Not necessarily the wax and the polish. That's more of a twice a year type deal that you would want to do that. There are certain things that we can use and certain things we can do. Generally, it's any automotive, auto car wash, anything that you can use on your car, you can use on the motorhome as well. Things we want to stay away from is anything abrasive. We don't want you using any brushes on the sidewall of the coach. It will actually leave streaks on it because that clear coat we have on there, we've got so many layers and it is pretty soft. So any brush on there will do it. Anytime you're trying to dry that off or wipe it down, you want to be using microfiber. They do make special sponges and different things. We want to avoid using any brush on there. The other thing that we have kind of caught a couple people in, you never want to wash this coach in direct sunlight. That sun is baking down on that coach and it's got that soft, so even wiping it off could make small scratches if you have anything on your cloth. Make sure we're not using the same cloth or the same sponges as we use on our wheels. That's kind of the same concept with your car. You really don't want to cause anything that would scratch that. So any kind of automotive wash we're good with. And then obviously we have protectant on the coach, that diamond shield on the front of it. Simple, just wash that like we normally would. And then that same protectant that we used on the slide out seals, that Aerospace 303, we can go ahead and coat that front diamond shield with that as well, just to give it that extra UV protectant.
Sure. So along with our exteriors, we also have great looking interiors in our coaches. What are the major maintenance items for the interior portion of the coach?
So a lot of times we get questions on this. What do we need to do to maintain the inside of the coach? And there are certain things that we can use. We could go through the whole list of things. You've got your countertops, to your wall boards, to your tile floors. All of those different items take different chemicals and you can use different things on. Again, we look at nothing abrasive inside the coach. The wall panels, they are kind of sensitive to Windex with ammonia. So things that we want to stay away from, don't use any kind of ammonia-based products inside the coach. We don't want to use any kind of abrasive chemicals on countertops, in the sinks, in the shower pans, things of that nature. And then you run into different things like furniture. When we start talking about furniture, you've got your leather, you've got your vinyl. There are certain chemicals, Cornerstones, they have a leather protectant that comes with the sofa itself. So we ship that with every coach. Those are things you want to use. Try to avoid using anything, paper towels, things like that. We'll put scratches on it. Anytime you apply any kind of cleaner to your fabric, make sure it goes on a towel first, and we always recommend microfiber. The woodwork, we're using hardwood styles in everything we build. So you look at that, and we also have the high gloss. That high gloss is almost so sensitive, you look at it and it won't scratch. So make sure that you use that microfiber and Murphy's oil soap on that hardwood. You don't want to go using Windex, you don't want to use furniture polish. That furniture polish just collects more dust and has a tendency to scratch that high gloss. So kind of, we've got some different things that we want you to use and things that we want you to stay away from. Obviously, there's going to be a whole variety of things that you can use and customers have found and they used and it works. Those things are okay, but we do have a few things that you want to stay away from and stay clear from, and we try to make those known to all of our customers.